Howdy, church family. Glad you've tuned in today. Today is day 19 of our 21-day challenge, and we're going to be talking about boldness. Back in Kansas, we liked listening on the radio to an old cowboy storyteller named Baxter Black. Some called him a poet and even a philosopher. His folksy sense of humor could charm the socks off of Aunt Bee in Mayberry. Well, in his style, I like to read you a story to kick us off. Now, this story could be true, or at least mostly true, depending upon who's doing the telling. It starts off with these two young whippersnapper boys who just happened to be cousins. They were best buds too. They were bold and ornery, and when they got together, what one of them didn't think of, the other one would, and then dare the other one. One was a city slicker, and the other a country boy. This particular day, they was wanting to do something fun and daring. Now, this country cousin came up with this bold and exciting idea to dare his country city cousin to go along with him. And this was the day for the new adventure. On the farm, there was a big tile barn, the only one like it in that part of the county or even the state. It had a ginormous hayloft above where the cows used to be milked. Well, those boys decided to climb the ladder to play in all of that empty space. The country cousin had been percolating on an idea and had come out to the barn all ready to check it out. For his idea to work, that skinny little country fella needed an umbrella. Somehow he got this big black one out of the house and up the ladder to the hayloft without his mama knowing anything about it. His cousin, you bet, was climbing the ladder right behind him. The city cousin got curious about the umbrella though. "What's you doing with that thing?" "Why, I've got me an idea," he said. "As I jump out the door up here, I'm going to open this umbrella. Don't you think it will hold me up like I'm a bird flying? You know, like that movie our paws took us to a while back. You know, those guys jumped out of the airplane and just floated down. You can do it next. I dare you." His cousin was quiet, but that didn't stop the idea guy to make a running leap out the hayloft door, with his cousin running over to look down at the wreckage. Whoa! The umbrella had opened up all right, but it went all the way backwards and was now laying on the ground beside his crumpled cousin. After a second or two, he thought he should yell down to check on his cousin, who was just getting his arms and legs untangled to stand up. The idea guy looked up and with a possum-like smile said, "It's your turn." Well, some folks listening to this story might consider this idea guy to have a bold plan, even though it was a little risky. You have to admit, though, he had the courage to jump. Some folks might say that he had a guardian angel in his pocket, one without wings, so he didn't kill himself. But then again, you might say what he did was plain stupid. Bold, but stupid. That's what his mama said when she found out. This story was taken from the Journal of Jimmy Lee Arnold. Well, let's move from the cowboy philosopher and take a look at a man of religion who was also a philosopher. His name was Joseph Rigobey, and he lived around the turn of the 20th century. He shares with us his idea of what being bold is like. Boldness is a willingness to stand up for what is right in the sight of God, even if it means accepting rejection, verbal abuse, or physical harm. Boldness is exactly what the apostles and disciples needed if they were going to fulfill the Great Commission to make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. As Jesus is ready to ascend to heaven, he gives his apostles one last instruction. He tells them to wait in Jerusalem for the Holy Spirit. This Spirit is to fill them with courage. It is to fill them with boldness, to spread Jesus' teaching everywhere, even in Jerusalem. Remember now that Jerusalem is a dangerous place to be right now. It had only been a few weeks since the Jewish leaders had convinced Pilate to crucify Jesus. These leaders were still upset that the followers were still teaching the same thing they were when Jesus was still with them. They decided to retaliate by putting pressure on everyone. The apostles needed the Holy Spirit that they were promised and received. This gave them the boldness to continue teaching there. Many Jews being converted to these teachings before they left the trouble behind in Jerusalem. The Holy Spirit was in them, giving them boldness to spread the message of salvation all over the Roman Empire and the world. The Holy Spirit worked in the lives of the early leaders who established the first churches. Later, we read of a very prominent Apostle Paul who became a faithful Christian teacher and leader. He suffered rejection, he suffered verbal abuse, and he suffered physical harm. But he continued to boldly serve in the mission field. He wrote many of the books of the New Testament. Even during persecution, Paul stood firm to spread the gospel of Jesus, serving as an example for us. Let's summarize. 1. Jesus promised the apostles they would receive the Holy Spirit in Jerusalem. Thereafter, any believer receives the Holy Spirit at his or her baptism. 2. God equips the Holy Spirit with many strength-building assets. One of these is boldness. 3. If God gives us these assets, He expects us to accept them and use them for His purpose in living every day. I want to thank you again for tuning in, and on behalf of the other elders and myself, may God bless you and may God keep you.